We support a diverse, equitable, and inclusive environment for all of our employees and our clients. So every June, we as a firm and as a community celebrate Pride Month and the achievements of the LGBTQ+ community. We also recognize its challenges, some of which are completely unique to LGBTQ+ individuals. So we're going to dive into those right now, plus talk about some top-notch solutions here on UBS Trending. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of UBS Trending. I'm Anthony Pastore. Thank you for joining us. Happy Pride to all of you, and happy Pride to my guests, Kevin Healy and Sean Livingston. Sean is a financial advisor from the West Coast, coming to the East Coast today for UBS, and Kevin Healy is one of our great partners from Goldman Sachs Asset Management. Good to be with both of you. Happy Pride. It's great. It's a great day. Let me start off with you, Kevin. We're talking today about the sort of the unique and sometimes not so unique financial challenges of members of the LGBTQ+ community. But there's a lot of statistics that you at Goldman Sachs Asset Management have done research on, and you've put these into findings, and there's some pretty fascinating stuff out there. What are some of the findings that you saw that really stood out to you about the community?
Yeah, I'll start with the most concerning one. We think only 22% of our community works with a financial advisor right now. And that's dramatically lower than the broader community. And that's concerning because there are specific challenges and nuances that we face when it comes to investing for our long-term goals. Let me give you some examples. Children, right? I don't want to surprise anyone, but there aren't a lot of surprise babies in our community, right?
No oopsies.
No oopsies.
Right.
What does it take? It takes planning and it takes investing. Because if you're going to adopt through an agency, count on about $43,000 of expenses. Working with a surrogate through an agency, $100,000 to $150,000. So we got to plan, we got to invest. But are we? 40%, just 40% of us are saving for an emergency fund, right? Only 44% are even saving for a vacation fund, right? And we know how much it costs to get a quarter share in Fire Island. I mean, a cottage for Bear Week in P-Town, forget it. You've got to have a plan.
Right.
And you've got to focus with a financial advisor who is up to speed with our community. We think another reason why very few of us are working with an advisor, and the studies show over half of us want to work with one down the road, but only 10% of the community could name a financial services firm that's LGBTQ+ inclusive. So my hope is everyone watching will know for sure at the end of this that UBS and Goldman Sachs are very inclusive. This is just the tip of the iceberg for what both of our firms are doing to reach out to the community. Yeah,
it's incredible. It's one of the many things that I actually really appreciate about our industry. It seems like more and more over the last decade, 2 decades, more and more of these larger companies like Goldman, like UBS, have really embraced diversity, equity, and inclusion. They've also put it into action. It's not just words on a page. It's talking about how do we support these communities that make us better, and how do we support them to have a better financial life. And Sean, I'm going to pivot to you. You are a financial advisor, and I know you work with all clients, non-LGBTQ, LGBTQ. Tell us about, kind of piggybacking off of what Kevin was talking about, some of the conversations you're having with specifically your LGBTQ+ clients that you're not having with those that are not in that community.
Absolutely. First, I would say with the Obergefell ruling in 2015, a lot of the planning from taxes to estate planning got a lot easier because same-sex couples and non-same-sex couples had sort of the same considerations. With the ruling, which paved the way for marriage, also paved the way for divorce. So I've gone through divorces now since 2015 with some of my same-sex couples. A unique consideration for those couples is the fact that some of them have been together for 20, 30 years. So some of them think of marriage as before the ruling in 2015 and after the ruling. Because if you've been in a same-sex relationship for 20, 30 years, before there were federal benefits, you might have lived in a state where domestic partnership was recognized and you had some rights. You might have been in a state where you had no rights. You might have moved. So when you had, when you got marriage in 2015 and then you go through a divorce, actually figuring out what property you have can be very complicated. I would agree with the financial planning around having children. Having gone through it myself, I have 2 kids, 5 and 2. One we adopted, one we had a surrogate. The amount of planning, both financial and emotional, involved with having kids is something that we think about a lot with our same-sex
It's
couples.
hard not to. And I know you and I, are friends and colleagues outside of this room, so I've asked you lots of questions about that experience that you had. And it's emotionally taxing, but especially financially. You have to really plan for that. I'm going to ask you more about that in a second, Sean. Something interesting that I wanted to share with our viewers is, it's when you're looking at the makeup of the LGBTQ plus community in the U.S., those that identify has doubled since 2012. It's I have the stats here, 2% of Americans identify as LGBTQ plus today versus 3.6% in 2012. By the way, thank you to Gen Z, because 20% of them are identifying as LGBTQ plus, and it's the world that they're growing up in, which has more representation and more outgoing speakers, in our generation that kind of started to, I think, pave the way a little bit. But there's a lot of that. So you hopefully in the future, more of these out and open Gen Z aged young adults will become mid-adults and want to work with a financial advisor more than some in the previous generations have. I hope that that's the case.
That's 100%.
Yeah.
And if you extend that stat to include people who identified as fluid, within Gen Z, that jumps to 35%. So it's a completely different world on the horizon.
Right. Fluid wasn't even a word that existed when we were younger. It's something that has kind of evolved over time. Lots of words have changed, but for the better, right? People always say, I don't like labels, but in some ways you have to figure out a way to identify yourself, and I think it's really important for people to understand what that means, right? Especially in the context of financial planning. So there we go. Sean, as now this parent of those 2 beautiful kids that you have, what would you recommend to those people out there who are in a same-sex couple or thinking about they want to go through adoption surrogacy? Working with a financial advisor like yourself is always a good way to do it, but what did you learn along the way that you could share with our audience?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think it's great to work at a company like UBS where there are significant resources and benefits to same-sex couples who want to go through the adoption or surrogacy process. Not only information, but also financial support. So that was one of the places that I started. I did a lot of research, researching adoption agencies. Fortunately, living in the state of California, it is a very supportive state when it comes to adoption and surrogacy. But we adopted our son first, so we found an adoption agency. You go through the application process. You have friends and family members write a letter of support for you. I mean, it's really involved. It takes weeks and weeks before you are even in the adoption pool. And then there's a little bit of a waiting game. You're waiting to get matched.
It's a nail biter
of
a time, I'm sure.
And there's ups and downs. You know, our first match didn't go through. The birth mother decided to keep the baby, which was a good outcome, but not for us as much. But when we wound up waiting for a few more months, and then we found a match.
And everything happens for a reason,
it
right?
Does.
You
And
think about your life
well.
now,
Yes.
exactly, and the kids that you have, which is incredible. Thanks for sharing that with us, Sean. Kevin, as our guest, well, you're my guest too, but you work here. Any final words for our viewers out there?
I want to end on a high note.
That sounds great. It's Pride Month. We're
right,
celebrating,
right.
right?
Let's do something fun. So our community is more focused on socially responsible investing than the broader public, right? But that can mean different things to different people, right? Through the advent of something called direct indexing, you can work with your financial advisor to build a portfolio that is expressly for you. So let's say, for example, I know a lot of people in our community are concerned about violence, and you may not want to profit from having guns in your personal portfolio. All right, direct indexing means you can say, I don't want guns, or I don't want companies that are working with animal cruelty, or I want to focus on companies that have diverse boards. So you can work with your financial advisor and have a benchmark custom built for you, whether it's excluding specific stocks or swaths of the investment world, so that your portfolio is representing what's important to you as you're investing for your long-term goals.
Terrific.
So if that sounds good, talk to your financial advisor about direct indexing.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the key word, right? Or the key words is work with a financial advisor. Someone like Sean at UBS. We have terrific advisors here. And thank you to our terrific partners at Goldman Sachs Asset Management, including my friend and colleague, Kevin Healy. Thank you guys for being here. It's a great time, but it's also a sobering time. You really have to talk about these topics that are very important for the community to hear. So I'm glad we were able to do that today.
Thank you for having us, and happy Pride, everybody.
Yes, thanks, guys. Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining. There's lots more content related to Pride and otherwise on our website at ubs.com/views. And remember, as we say, work with or talk with a financial advisor. They are the best resource for you when it comes to investing to your own portfolio, or as Kevin was saying, to things that matter to you and to your family and your loved ones. So make sure to talk with an FA. And follow us on social media. We've got great content on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and follow us on Instagram specifically at our UBS Trending channel. Lots of great content up there for you as well. In the meantime, everybody, we hope you have a great day. Happy Pride, and remember to keep your eyes on what's trending. We'll see you soon.